Hello, everyone. I'm going to make this announcement rather brief because we have some things to do this week. So this week we are going to be looking at United States history during the first half of the 1800s. So we are talking a little bit about some things that are before the War of 1812, but largely we're talking about the information following the War of 1812, or the developments following the War of 1812, up until around by 1850. We're going to look at the development of the sectional crisis between slave state and free state that became an increasing problem as the United States began to expand and as new territories began to be incorporated into the United States as states. And of course, the first big crisis associated with was, of course, the so-called Missouri Compromise of 1820, which witnessed Missouri be admitted into the United States as a slave state, and likewise Maine admitted to the United States as a free state. So that's the beginning of what you would call the sectional crisis, this crisis between these two sections, the free, typically northern and northern Midwest states, the non-slave states, and the slave states in the American South and the southern sort of Midwest. So we're going to look at the development of this crisis and this dispute over slavery in the United States, which is, of course, the core of the dispute that leads ultimately to the American Civil War. We're also going to look at the so-called market revolution, the development of the early industrial revolution in the United States, and the role that this plays in changing the United States, changing, for example, understandings of work in the United States, changing constructs of gender in the United States, witnessing new forms of technology that transform economics and trade in the United States, inventions that lead to an increasing reliance on slavery. Particularly, I'm thinking about the cotton gin here in the American South, which, of course, further entrenched slavery into the Southern economy, sowing the seeds of the Civil War, and also, of course, more deeply entrenching these racist ideas that the United States is still dealing with in the 21st century today. So our topic for this week is the sectional crisis, the roots of the American Civil War. And we'll get to more immediate roots of the American Civil War in coming weeks. And also the market revolution, the period of time in which we witness steamboats traversing canals like the Erie Canals, the development of the railroad and steam power in the United States, industrial manufacturing in the United States occurring during this time period. Our assignments for this week, we have two graded assignments this week. One of them is another video lecture quiz, and hopefully that's a good thing for everybody. The lecture this week is about 20 minutes long, and watch the lecture and take the quiz. When you watch the lecture, take notes. You could, of course, pull the lecture up and have it out on the side in YouTube while you're taking the quiz as well. The quiz is a 30-minute time limit, and it is 9 or 10 questions. So another video lecture quiz. The other assignment, there is a primary source reading, primary source written by the individual you see photoed right here, John Quincy Adams, and that primary source is found in our weekly module for this week. There is a quiz on that primary source. Now, all the quiz is effectively taking the place of what would be like a discussion post this week, but instead of doing a discussion, I'm doing this short essay quiz. I want you to read the primary source, and there's a prompt that I want you to respond to, sort of picking apart the aspects of that primary source and writing a short paragraph or two explaining the information in the primary source. So 2 quizzes this week. One effectively kind of being your discussion for this week, and the other a video lecture quiz. Factoid for this week is related to the gentleman sitting right here, John Quincy Adams. The factoid is this: John Quincy Adams, who of course was president of the United States for one term, he was elected president in an affair that Andrew Jackson called the corrupt bargain of 1824. And it was called that because none of the candidates had a majority of the electoral votes. And when nobody has a majority of the electoral votes, a House of Representatives committee may select the victor. And John Quincy Adams had less overall votes than Andrew Jackson, but was chosen in what Andrew Jackson called the corrupt bargain, was chosen president. John Quincy Adams, who of course was the son of the second president of the United States, John Adams, was president from 1825 to 1829. 1829, of course, Andrew Jackson then won that election and became president. The factoid is this: John Quincy Adams was a renowned statesman in the United States. He was a renowned diplomatic thinker. When he was Secretary of State for James Monroe, he wrote the Monroe Doctrine. And he was also a very, very forward-thinking individual about the role of the United States when it came to society as a whole, and how the United States government, the role of the United States government, could be used to improve society moving forward through things like public works and education. John Quincy Adams, here's a factoid, there's two of them. First of all, John Quincy Adams served an impressive career in the American House of Representatives after being president. Something that's very, very unique about John Quincy Adams. And the other unique thing about John Quincy Adams is that he is the first president to ever be photographed. And this is the photograph I'm speaking of John Quincy Adams. This, of course, is after he was president. And so the first president ever photographed, John Quincy Adams, and also a president who had an impressive career in the U.S. House of Representatives after his presidency. Post that factoid in the extra credit discussion board this week. Get your extra point added to a test score at the end of the term. Let's have a great week, and let me know if you have any questions.